Round two starts. So what I want to go over today, I talked about this on a group call, I think a week or two ago, and I got a lot of positive feedback from it, saying that it really shed a lot of light for some ladies. So I want to make sure everybody can hear this. So what I want to talk about is why when this gets hard, it's super hard, right? Like, what is the actual reason that this is hard? Now, losing weight and being healthy is not hard 24/7. Okay, we know that. You can enjoy the journey for sure. But for some reason, when we hit challenges, when it gets hard, it feels really hard, right? It feels like insurmountable sometimes. Like, oh my God, how am I ever going to make this past or make it past this? So what I want to talk about is why this happens. Like, what's the actual logical reason that you kind of have this switch and it seems so hard when it's not. Okay, so I'm going to talk over like actually what is the reason behind this, right? Because I'm a huge fan of what is the reason why this is happening, where is it coming from, because only then will you understand it. Okay, if you don't know why something is happening or where it's coming from, you don't know when to expect it. You don't know when it's going to pop up, and you're always kind of like living in fear of it instead of you knowing it, accepting it, and anticipating it. So I want to do a little exercise with you ladies. Okay, so I want you to pull out your phone calculator, all right, or a regular calculator, or you can use your mind if you're a genius. And I want you the first number in the calculator. Okay, this is really interesting. I want you to type how many years of your life have you actually made health a priority? How many years? All right, intentionally, not passively, not like my car broke down so I had to walk to work, not like that. Like, how many years of your life did you actually say, you know, I'm eating healthy, I'm moving more, I'm going to work out, I'm meal prepping? Like, how many years did health take a front seat instead of a back seat? How many years? Put that in the calculator, all right? Then I want you to divide that number by how old you are. Do it right now, and you'll get a decimal. And then I want you to multiply that by 100. And that is your percentage. All right? And if you want to share, you can share your percentage in the comments. Now, what does this number mean? So let's say that number was 15%, right? Could be higher, could be lower. No judgment here. It doesn't matter what that number is. I'm just going to explain that number. So if that number was 15%, ladies, guess what that means? That means for only 15% of your life have you made health a priority. 15% of you being alive, health was the main focus. How crazy is that? And guess what that means? That means 85% of your life, health was not important or excusable or on the to-do list that you never got around to, right? That's the remaining percentage. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? You've only been focusing. If you got that percentage on a test, you wouldn't be even close to passing, right? You're not even close to passing that test. It's crazy. So the odds, the numbers are stacked against you. Now let's play this. Let's do this other exercise, okay? So let's say for the next year, you dedicate your life to being healthy, okay? So we're gonna do the same equation, but now we're gonna increase the numbers. So that first number of how many years you made health a priority, add 1 year to it. So if it was 5 before, now it's 6. All right, add a 1 to that first number, and then a year from now, you'll be 1 year older as well, so add 1 year to your age. So if you were 5 years healthy and alive for 30 years, now it's gonna be 6 years healthy and 31 years. So do that new equation, find the decimal, and then multiply it by 100. All right, and then share that new percentage in there with me. Share that new percentage in the comments, okay? Now, what's crazy about this, ladies, if I did my numbers, so my first number was around 25%. My first number was on 25%. And if this year I go all in, it's going to be 28% next year. So if I dedicate a full year, 12 months, 52 weeks, 365 days to my health, my percentage only goes up 3%. How crazy is that? It is a slow climb, right? That is why it gets so hard when it's hard, because you are literally, the odds are against you. The numbers are against you. It doesn't make sense. If your number was 25%, right? And that means you're 25% committed to your health and 75% you haven't been focused on your health for your whole life. And if I told you tomorrow, there's a 75% chance you're going to get into a car accident tomorrow, are you going to jump in your car? No, right? If that small percentage of the years you've dedicated to your health, if that percentage was the percentage that a doctor passed their anatomy course and he was going to do brain surgery on you, would you be comfortable with that? If you got a 15% on anatomy, he's going to cut you open? Probably not, right? The odds are against you. The grades are against you. You have a failing grade, right? So you have to look at it like that to be okay with where you are, to accept that this is not fixed overnight, right? To be okay with enjoying your journey. Because if in 1 year, I've only increased my percentage by 3%, it's going to take 5 to 10 years to increase it by 10%. And even then, if we increase it by 10%, ladies, is it even close to a passing grade still? Probably not, right? Not to say the next 10 years are going to be awful and you can't reach your goal. You can definitely hit your goal within that time span, 100%. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you look at those numbers, it makes so much sense why this becomes such a challenge sometimes. When you became an expert, when you are like doctor level at not being healthy, that's how much you've practiced and focused. You've been passing at not being healthy with flying colors. You've been acing that side of things. You've been acing it. So it becomes naturally, you're really good at it. You're really smart at it. You're really good at finding how to do those things in all situations. No matter what triggers are around you, you're really good at defaulting to what you know, what you're an expert in. And that is not making health a priority. So it's very easy to slip back into that high percentage. It's just an odds game here. And the odds are that you have a very high percentage of going back to where you were because of how little time you've committed. That is why it's hard, okay? But here's the thing. You are a beginner, right? This shows you clearly you're a beginner, right? We barely studied. That's why we got that number. We've been barely studying, right? So you are a beginner. You are in kindergarten right now, right? Or maybe even before kindergarten, like Montessori school, who knows? But we are a beginner until we hit 51%, right? Until the majority of that percentage of your life is more focused on health. That's when you switch to an expert level, to a mastery level, right? But how long is that going to take? Decades, right? Crazy long time if we're fighting against those numbers. But every year, every good thing you do stacks against the bad, and now time is in your favor. You haven't been using time wisely. Time has been working against you, as you can see by those huge gaps in those two percentages, right? They are not even or close to equal at all. Big gap, right? We got people saying 17, 16, 20%, 14%. That's huge. There's like an 80% on the other side. That's a huge ratio gap, right? So there's clearly been an imbalance, and time has not been kind to you in this case, right? But the good thing is now you're aware. Now you can say, okay, time is actually the biggest, best friend of all in this journey. Time is your best friend in this journey, because if you just keep sticking to it, that percentage accumulates over time and you don't even have to look at it. One day you're 5 years in and you're up 10%. That could mean 100% increase, right? If you look at the number you started from, that's crazy. It's exponential growth if you just put your head down and view time as a good thing, not a bad thing, right? We think the longer things take, the worse we're doing, right? But in this sense, the longer you go, the better percentage you have, the more equal those numbers get. And then one day you pass it and you enter that mastery phase. And that's how you know you've locked it in. You've locked it in and you're an expert, and then you can be the weight loss coach, right? Switching that flip there. So we have to look at it that way so that we can finally turn time on our side. Because if things are slow, or if things, we say they take too long, it's how you're looking at time. You're looking at time as the fact that time has passed is a negative thing. The fact that time has passed and you're not where you want to be, that's a negative thing, right? But that can't be the case if you look at your percentage next year and the year after that and the year after that. It's clearly growing. It is clearly growing. So it's only a matter of time until time is on your side. So you have to flip how you view time. Now, I'm not telling you that everything should be super slow at a snail's pace and you have to wait to be an expert to enjoy everything. What I'm doing is giving you permission to enjoy the journey. I'm giving you permission to understand why this does get hard. Because you are always wanting those quick results. You are always going to see people who are going faster than you, doing better than you. That's the world we live in. Social media, right? Everybody's perfect life is shown. So you're always going to compare. But I'm giving you permission, and I'm giving you a reason as to why this gets hard. So on a hard day, you can be like, oh, I know why it's hard, right? It's not hard because work was really stressful. My boss yelled at me. I had a fight with my significant other. Sure, that's adding to it. But why it's really hard is because that percentage is low enough to begin with. Then you add all that shit on top of it. Guess what happens? You're really tempted to switch to that 80% because that's easy. You can go on autopilot in that mode because you've been mastering it for decades. Right? But you have to know why that switch is so easy to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself. Otherwise, you'll think there's something wrong with you. And when you think there's something wrong with you, you think nothing can help you. And you are not a special snowflake. All right? Everything you feel, every woman goes through, especially every fit queen, just to different degrees and at different times. Yes, your circumstances and situations are uniquely you, but those emotions you feel, they are universal. Those emotions are universal. And when you know where they come from, you have so much power because then you can fabricate the emotions you want. Then instead of being pissed when you have a slow week or a bad week or it was an extra hard week to stay on track, you can say, okay, this is not the result that I wanted, but guess what? On the flip side, I just put another week into my percentage. I just put another week fighting that high percentage side. And so it will slowly build, slowly build, slowly build, right? Rome was not built in a day. So neither will your body, neither will your mind, most importantly. So use this little trick as a way to be okay when you struggle. The biggest problem I see with ladies is not that they mess up. It's how they respond to themselves messing up. It's the intense language they use around they messing up, right? I'm disappointed. I'm disgusted. I'm upset. Why? You're still here, which means you're still putting in time on the right side, right? Time is the thing that we want more of. Time is the thing that we want the most of in this world. It's the most precious thing. We want more time, right? But we've been wasting it. It's the thing that we use the worst. It's the thing we want the most and use the worst. So this gives you a chance to shift your perspective and appreciate, oh, this was a slow week. I'm okay with that because guess where I'm going to be in a year? I'm going to increase my percentages. Well, guess what other people did? They separated that gap even more. And how hard. If you're already starting from down here, if you're starting from a 14%, a 5%, and you go another year, how farther back are you? How demotivating, demoralizing would it be if you had a 14 this year and a 12 next year? That is when the mental struggle becomes real. That is when you can't pull yourself out of a slump. But you can do that now if you know in the grand scheme of things, that percentage will go up. You can survive whatever temporary dark moment you go through if you know that you're still raising that number. If you can't find any other reason to continue, any other reason why you think you should be doing this, that is it. That is what you can cling to when it seems pointless. And it will. It comes and goes, right? So remember this. You won't have dark moments very often, but it's the dark moments that define you. It's the dark moments that make your light shine brighter. Use it in that moment just to keep going. That's it. Whatever keeping going looks like. That's it. Because sometimes time just needs time, and we don't give time, even though we know that time needs time. Even though we know that slow and steady progress is usually good progress because it's a progress that lasts, right? Even though we know our inches are going down, but the scale's not. Even though we know our clothes are fitting us better. Even though we know we have energy out the wazoo. Even though we know we can walk into a room with our chest high instead of hiding in the corner, right? Use it as that last emergency fuel when your tank is empty. That percentage. Write it down. Stare at it every morning. I've got to be an X percent next year. I've got to increase this percentage. It's the easiest thing to work towards because all you have to do is just not get up. It's not give up. It's not fancy. It's not telling you to overwork. It's not giving you an unrealistic game plan. It's just like, oh, I just got to wake up today and make a healthy choice. And I'm not increasing that gap. That's it. How cool is that? There's no pressure there. You're just looking at a small little number that's quite easy to not let get smaller. It's quite easy to not let it go in the other direction. And it's hard to build it up in the other direction. That's why you just have to do one small thing. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. If you don't think you should keep going some more. If you don't want to keep going, if you finally talked yourself out of it, remember, oh, hold on, what's my percentage right now? And if I give up, what will it be next year? Right? So very cool perspective shift. And here's the thing, right? Like, you're like, think of yourself as like a fine wine, right? Fine wine does better with age. Fine wine tastes better over time. Fine wine is more valuable over time, right? Fine wine. You're fine wine. Enjoy the process. Right now, you're marinating. You're brewing, right? This is where you kind of sit back. You know those overnight successes we see? People pop up on their famous overnight? They were in this phase at one point. They were brewing. They were marinating. They were giving time. So when you're ready to shine, when it is your real time, you will burst out and people will be like, who is she? Where was she? Where did she come from? You put in the work behind the scenes. You put in the work that nobody else wants to do. You put in the work that everybody else discredits or tries to talk you out of. But you put it in by default, not even by intention sometimes. It just gets put in by default when you keep going. That's it. Sometimes you don't even have to intentionally make healthy decisions. As long as you wake up and you just keep going, it adds to it. It is very simple, and it is very easy on a bad day to do this when there are zero expectations, and all you got to do is I got to make one healthy decision so that this day is a good day and can go towards a positive out of those 365 days. That's it. Every day, how can I just make it neutral or good? Neutral or good. What does that mean? What does that mean? How can I do that? Before you go to sleep, good day, bad day. Switch it up. That's it. So you can put a tick. You can put a tick, and then 365 days later, you've upped that percentage. Just like that. Just like that. And here's the funny thing too, like Samuel L. Jackson, Melissa McCarthy, Susan Boyle, right? Big names. They didn't get their big break till they were in their 40s, right? Charles Darwin, Julia Child, I think they were in their 50s when they had their break. And Colonel Sanders, Winston Churchill, Judi Dench, I think they were in their 60s. So where are we rushing? Why are we overcomplicating and overwhelming ourselves with the concept of time? What is time? What does it matter? There's when you're born and when you die and everything in between. As long as you make the in between good, it doesn't matter when it happens. Right? Right? Why does it matter when? As long as it's happening. You won't enjoy what you get. You won't. I can tell you that. You won't enjoy that thing that you've been yearning for so long. You won't enjoy it unless it takes time to get there. Period. Right? You ever do something, you work so hard at something, right? Like there's no better feeling than being rewarded for hard work. There's no better feeling. And I think that's a really big contributor to poor mental health. Not having a purpose and not being proud of something. When you're working, when you're challenging yourself, when you're progressing as a human in society on all levels, how cool is that? How could you not be proud of yourself? And how could you not just enjoy where you're at, knowing that you're doing your best? Knowing that you're doing your best is enough. If you can sit there and say it's not enough, ladies, guess what that means? That means you're actually not doing your best. That's what that means. That means you have more to give, more to push, more to try. If you sit there and think I'm still not embracing the journey, working hard at it is not enough for me, that means you're probably not pushing yourself to the point where you're surprised by what you can do. You're blown away at how dedicated you are. If you blow your mind every day with what you can push yourself to do, don't you think you would be excited to wake up and see what you can do tomorrow? And then the next day? Don't you think you'd be so excited to wake up every morning? What am I going to surprise myself with today? What am I going to accomplish? How am I going to make myself uncomfortable? Right? And then before you know it, you've enjoyed every challenge. Like you've thoroughly enjoyed it. Not necessarily in the split second, but you can be grateful that it happened, right? Because if you look back on, a handful of your most recent failures, can you thoroughly say you are content with them yet? Can you thoroughly say you appreciate them for what they are? Or do you still look back and say, I wish it didn't happen? Or I wish I did something different, right? There's a difference. Do we accept it and move on? Or do we harp on it and then are we slightly afraid of it happening again? There's a difference, right? And it's an art. It is an art, ladies. Let me tell you. Appreciating time and giving time is an art. Because really nothing in society has primed us for that, right? We get instant access to information and entertainment every second of the day, right? If we're watching a movie, we recognize an actor, we don't know where they're from, we can Google them, and then we know exactly where we recognize them from, right? Whereas, years ago, you had to really think, pause the movie, brainstorm, think. And then when you say it, you yell it out. Like, this, right? We yell it out because we're so proud of ourselves, something small like that. Where now, we don't really do much for ourselves. We don't come to any conclusions. We don't work hard. We don't use our brain. We don't use our imagination enough to enjoy the time. If we're not enjoying the time, it means we're not spending it well. How can you fill your time better? And that mostly comes down to you're not really pursuing things that you love. Or you're not really taking the time to find things that you love. Because the majority of the time, the majority of our lives are usually spent living for the weekend. Right? Maybe you hate your job. Maybe you don't. Maybe you like it. It's good. It'll do the job. But you still enjoy when the weekend comes around. You still enjoy leaving and getting home and chillaxing on the couch. right? Like, what do you look forward to other than not working? What do you look forward to other than eating or drinking? It should be the journey itself. It should be you. It should be spending time with yourself that you look forward to, because you're marinating, you're brewing. Imagine where you're going to be. Imagine the woman you're becoming. It's so cool. And you're so unique. And just shift that perspective of that percentage to keep you going. That's the key here, ladies. And that's what I want you to take away. All right? Use time. Use time. Whenever you hear yourself saying the word time, or long, or slow, those are all synonyms for time. When you hear yourself saying that, just catch it. Catch it. Be like, huh, interesting. But am I building up my percentage? Then what else matters? Like, really? Like, what else matters than closing that gap? Because that's what you're trying to do here. You only lose weight the closer you become to being an expert status. That's the only way that you lose weight, keep it off, be happy, be confident, reach all those amazing goals. And you have to become closer to an expert by closing that gap and getting that small percentage, 51% or higher, right? We're a while away from that. So accept that, enjoy it, have some fun, and just sit back and brew. In the background, your fine wine. You're still developing. You're getting your body, your flavors are intensifying. It's cool. It's cool. You're born and you die, ladies. What you do in between, up to you. You just got to be happy. You got to be productive. You got to have a purpose. And it doesn't matter when that happens. Just pursue it relentlessly for the sake of pursuing it. Not for the sake of getting there by an unrealistic standard. Yes, you're fermenting. You're all fermenting right now. Same thing. Not an attractive word, but yes. It's just so important, ladies. Like, I don't know how to say it in any other way except just use time, right? Especially, honestly, especially as women, right? Like, men get finer with age, right? They get the salt and pepper beard, they're more mature, they make more money, they wear nicer suits, they drive more cars, right? Like, more mature women are usually, or more mature men are more higher status in society, right? Older women, we're told, or we think that we kind of expire, right? Our biological clock is ticking. Once we get wrinkles, it's game over. Like, we're taught to think that we decline with age. And it can be the opposite. It's just time. I have the same 24 hours in a day that you had today. I had the exact same time in the day that you had today. What did you do with your hours? Everybody had the same 24 hours in a day. Beyonce has the same 24 hours in a day. Why is she where she is and you not? Why are you not Beyonce? We all have the same 24 hours. What's she doing? Right? Albert Einstein. Why aren't we all Albert Einsteins? He had the same 24 hours. What are you doing with your time? Why are you harping on time all the time instead of using your time? Everybody says life is short. It's not. It's enough. It's long enough. If you use it properly, it's just right. It's not short. It's short if you waste it or you're looking at the clock all the time. That's when it's short. Life is more than enough time. You just got to use it properly, ladies, and appreciate it. So that's my little spiel for today. All right, ladies, so you're fermenting. Remember that. And use time. Talk about time like you love it. Time is not the enemy, not as a woman, not as a human being who will die one day. Time is part of your journey, and only good things can come from time. Only good things can come from time. So stop hating on it so much. You'll get there when you get there. Make every second worth getting there.